pleasure. We welcome back to the show Mr. Kevin McCarthy, who happens to be a Republican congressman from California. He is also the House Republican leader, and he is, in my judgment at least, the next Speaker of the House. Kevin, it's great to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Larry. Great to be back.
All right, good. Maybe somebody can try to turn Kevin's sound up for me, or my sound up, so I can hear it. Kevin, just to review the bidding, you're at 218, I think. How far is this going to go? What do you think the final number is going to look like for you?
I think we'll end up at 222. We got called last night at 218, and you got to think about this. The 218th district was Mike Garcia. Mike Garcia's district is in L.A. County. Mike Garcia's district, Biden won by 13 points. Mike Garcia is a Naval Academy grad. He flew F-18s. This just shows how far the depth went on these races we had to win. We won a seat in New York that Biden won by 14. We beat the Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee chair. That hasn't happened in 42 years in New York. We won seats along the border with Monica de la Cruz. We won seats in Oregon. And last night, we just went ahead in another California seat. So there's about 4 more seats to call. I think we end about 222. But it's true what Newt says. Gavels don't come in small, medium, and large. They come in one size. And that one size, at the end of the day, would be the exact same majority size that the Democrats have now. And think of the damage that they did, but what's more importantly, what we can stop. Right now, we can stop this horrendous agenda of Biden. But now we can propel something much different, become energy independent. And we've really got to think about that differently, too. Not just energy independent, but we should be selling our natural gas not to just to our allies, but we should make China dependent upon us. Our economy is stronger, and the world becomes safer.
You know, Kevin, just to go back to that point, there's only one gavel. Maybe this is just for information purposes. Who's going to hand the gavel over to you? All right, Nancy Pelosi is retired from the leadership. Steny Hoyer is retired from the leadership. They're going to have somebody hand the gavel over to you. That's the ultimate change in power. The symbolism is huge. Are they going to put somebody up there to do it?
Yeah, it has to be the minority leader, which I believe that'll be Hakeem Jeffries. But it's interesting. I had a friend text me. So I just saw Nancy Pelosi's finally been fired, but I think she's leaving because she's still staying in Congress. She just doesn't want to have to hand me the gavel. Probably that's the reason.
Oh, no, that's a terrible thing. All right, I get that. I remember years ago, if I'm not mistaken, Dick Gephardt handed the gavel over to Newt Gingrich. But that's another discussion. Yes, I think that was the right history. What are you looking? You probably heard me suggest to reopen the oil and gas spigots. Petroleum permeates every part of American life. What are you thinking about the earliest moves in the new House Congress?
Well, on the very first day, we're first going to repeal 87,000 new IRS agents. Government should be here to help you, not go after you. But one of our first bills will be energy independent. In any study you look at, we need more of everything. You need all the above. Do we need more wind, solar? Yes, but you need more hydro, more nuclear. But we definitely need more oil and natural gas as well as we go forward. We need to make sure our grid is strong. But God has blessed this nation. We can be energy independent, but we should be abundant. We should be supplying this natural gas, not just to our allies in Europe, but as I said earlier, to China and others, and make them dependent upon us. Because one thing, when you look at the environment, our natural gas is 41% cleaner than Russian natural gas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, always. I mean, look, we've cut carbon emissions by more than any other of the large developed economies in the OECD.
Nations combined.
I never understood this. Yes. I mean, Trump said the other night in his speech, he said, let's end Green New Deal socialism. I mean, it seems to me all that central planning, trying to jam it down everybody's throats. But, Kevin, as you know well, those oil spigots and those natural gas spigots, and that want to include coal, which is getting cleaner by the day, you know, yes. That affects every part of American life. I mean, almost everything we do, from hospital rooms to glasses to sports to MRIs to fertilizers and food prices. It affects everything. I guess that's why I'm kind of pushing this thing forward. I get the IRS agents. I think that's a terrific idea. But I'm just hoping that you'll go for the return of oil and gas as soon as possible.
Well, you'll like that because it's going to be one of our very first bills. But we're going to work that in committee. We've been working it already. But what you want to look at is not just does it make us economically stronger, but the jobs it creates, but also the future of America's brighter and the world becomes safer. You're right to push this, and we pushed it in our commitment, and we're now going to actually pass it. But we need America to join with us so we can move it through the Senate as well. And think about it. As the days get colder, the price of winter heating has almost more than doubled. Why? All of these problems lie with the Democratic policies that has shut down the ability of America to be energy independent. We have more leases. We have the ability to drill more. We have the ability to be more secure. We just have to unleash what's holding us back. And by winning this House on November 8th, we're going to be able to do that starting January 3rd.
And Kevin McCarthy, just to go back to what Arthur Laffer said a few nights ago, I know he's a good friend of yours, he's a dear friend of mine. You know, this is an opportunity for the Republican Party, particularly, obviously, the Republican Party in the House under your leadership, but in general, to redefine for everybody out there, everybody, old, young, Democrats, Republicans, independents, you name it, minority groups, everybody, that the GOP can once more become the steward of economic prosperity, the steward of economic prosperity. And I'm adding to that, Kevin, I'm taking some liberties here. You know, things like crime. Crime is a prosperity killer. Chaos at the border is a prosperity killer. An education system that tries to keep parents out and lets them run by the teachers union bureaucracy, that's a prosperity killer. You see where I'm going with this? But put in the sense of economic prosperity stewardship. I think the opportunity here is absolutely fabulous.
I do too, and you sound like you're reading the commitment to America, securing the border, stop killing the next generation. And when you think about who fentanyl is killing, it's killing those Americans between the ages of 18 and 45. That is the most productive years when you think about economics. It's also the years when people are serving and defending our freedoms. So you wonder why people are trying to poison Americans. Then think about the crime. Everybody wants to feel safe in their streets. People want to be able to feel safe going to their schools. Why do we have a crime problem? The defunding of the police, the wokeism when it comes to prosecutors. We've got to change that direction. And a very good point that you made about education. Parents should be able to have a say in their kids' education. That's why we are having a Parents' Bill of Rights. Also, they should have the freedom for these children to get out of a failed school system and get to a better one. It is the great equalizer of our nation, and we're going to make sure we do that as well.
I mean, in many ways, and I know you agree with this, in many ways, it's like all legislative Rome can be divided into two parts. There's either prosperity killers or prosperity creators. Every bill, every hearing, and that includes defense and national security too, it seems to me. But everything you all do, you're either going to generate prosperity or you're going to kill prosperity. And I just have a sense that the country is hungering not only for a clear agenda, but for some confidence on that point. Because if anything, Mr. Biden has lost the confidence of the country.
Well, you look at every poll, 75% of Americans believe we're on the wrong track. Economically, they've watched in the last 2 years. I mean, when you served in the Trump administration, we watched what prosperity could do to the nation. And it didn't just focus on one part of the country. It lifted everybody up for higher income. Now you want to have a paycheck that it could actually go somewhere, but inflation is taking 1 month of your pay out in an entire year. Crime in the streets because they defunded the police, a border that's wide open, and now 300 people, Americans, will be poisoned and died today. And you question what's happening around the world because they don't know if America is still going to be the leader in every realm of possibility. We can change all that, and I believe that's what the voice that the American public wanted. They wanted a check and balance on this administration. That's why they provided the House to have the Republican control. We did get to 218. That means Nancy Pelosi has become fired in this process. It means you have a voice on an administration and a check and balance to change and bring prosperity back to all Americans.
All right, last one. So on the leadership vote, you won 188 to 31. On the floor of the House, you need 218. Can you fill it in and move on to becoming Speaker?
I believe so. Nancy Pelosi had lost more than that when nobody ran against her last time, and Paul Ryan had lost 43. So January 3rd is the critical day. But we have a small majority. So for all Republicans, we are either going to be successful together as a team or we're going to fail and lose as individuals. This is too important of a time in this nation. The American public is watching us, that we need to come together, listen to all voices, and focus on the American people. That's what they want to see. That's what we're going to do. And come January 3rd, we'll make sure we have the votes to move forward and make America more prosperous in the future.
Yeah, I don't know, some brilliant historian or philosopher once said, maybe it was you, Kevin McCarthy, we'll either hang together or we're going to hang separately.
That's
maybe
right.
you said that. I don't know. I'll have to Google it up and see how that works. Congressman Kevin McCarthy, thank you for coming back on. As always, sir, we appreciate it. And good luck on this.